Whoa, where's that guy going? Bingo? I know that line now.
No, his parents were killed by Bingo.
Oh, God.
What's that?
Bingo. Bingo was his name-o. Hello, everybody. We are playing Resident Evil 4 Remake. I am joined here by Chris.
I'm Chris.
Hi, Chris.
Hi.
And, oh my God. Sorry, Rob.
That's one hell of a way to make an entrance. Hi, it's me. Oh,
Hi,
yeah.
Oh, no.
I'm also the Kool-Aid man, and here are my dogs. Don't stop shooting my dogs.
Your dogs,
They're good boys.
Whoa. Preston, you're killing dogs right now, man. What are you doing?
Good. Get him.
Why aren't you dead? I upgraded my knife and everything.
Those dogs don't fuck around, dude.
You're gonna die. You gotta reload, bro.
You are.
Yeah, I'm gonna die. This is a great way to
death. It's accurate. Also, bear in mind there's a bear trap nearby.
You're just gonna knife these guys? You got ammo in that gun, buddy.
Who needs ammo when you've got an upgraded knife?
It's in keeping with... See, that's the thing, is Preston's playing the original Resident Evil 4, where all you do is knife everything.
Everything. It's a self-imposed limitation.
True to form.
So yeah, we're playing Resident Evil 4 Remake. I am on the sticks, as you can see, and I have never played Resident Evil 4. This is my first experience with it. Both of y'all have played, and I believe have beaten the remake as well, correct?
I haven't beaten the remake.
Okay. Yeah, I'm still in the castle.
I also am still in the castle.
But y'all do have experience with the original?
Oh, yeah. Finished the original like 3 times. At least 2 times. 2 or 3.
Finished it on the GameCube and on the PlayStation 2 a bunch, and also played a bunch of Mercenary back in the day when it first came out.
Now, what would be your recommendation for me here?
Don't die.
Shoot those dogs.
Shoot those dogs.
Don't shoot the bird, you son of a bitch.
I'm not going to say I haven't done it.
Shoot the birds. They drop money.
Oh, okay. So yeah, this is a remake of GameCube game originally that came out in 2003 or 4.
2005, I thought.
2005. I was close.
2000 something.
In the 2000s. And it is getting rave reviews.
Yeah. January 11th, 2005.
Wow. What have y'all... do you know what all they have updated since with this new release? Besides, very clearly, the graphical update that we're seeing.
A lot.
So much, yeah.
There's a lot.
Yeah, I don't know if you would... Like, it's close. I don't know if it's quite like Resident Evil 2 Remake levels of that much change, just because it was like a complete perspective change. I think that feels more like extreme, but there is a lot
Resident Evil 2 into Resident Evil 4, but still being Resident Evil 2. This is Resident Evil 4 times 2. It feels like a new game that takes what you remember and injects it with steroids or Plagas, I guess, in this instance.
I mean, one of the biggest things, obviously, is being able to move and shoot is new and very useful. And the way they've kind of balanced that is that you don't quite have the level of precision that you did before. I'm sure mouse and keyboard helps with that a little bit, but like your camera is swaying while you're aiming, even when you're standing still.
It definitely still sways, as well as it's similar to what Resident Evil 2 Remake has. The reticle, if you stay still and like don't move your cursor for a little bit, the reticle tightens up, and so the potential spread also tightens up.
Oh, right.
But unless you have something you can get with spinels early on for your starting gun, you can get a laser sight, which makes you like 100%, well, not 100% accurate, but there is no spread. Like your bullet is a 1-to-1 with your laser sight.
Yeah, your camera will still sway, but there's no spread anymore, which is great.
Yeah.
I had that for about 2 fights before I found the Red 9. Was like, I remember the Red 9. I'm switching to the Red 9.
I just sold my Red 9 at the castle and got the what is it? The Blacktail? Yeah.
I just stuck to the Red 9, man. I'm all about it. Fully upgraded now.
Mine was near fully upgraded. Well, it was the first set of full upgrades, and then I sold it so I could get because the Blacktail fully upgraded, or at its first grouping of upgrades, is more powerful and better overall than the Red 9.
Yeah. And the Blacktail, what's its special thing? I know the Punisher has penetration. Matilda has a 3-round burst. Does Blacktail have anything specific? I think it can you use the red sight?
You can't use the laser sight that you get, but I honestly don't recall right now. It just feels better. Oh, it occupies less inventory space.
Oh yeah,
part of it.
That is very nice. Yeah, I'm very upset that I have not really been able to make the space in my inventory for the bowgun the whole game, and I have just a ton of bolts for it.
So besides, have y'all noticed? I mean, without much story spoilers, even though again this is a 18-year-old game, has there been many? Whoa! I hate her. I hate her so much.
You deserve that.
I did.
No, buddy.
You got the second you get that sway, you got to run right in.
God,
the roundhouse. Another thing that Chris was mentioning with as far as changes is like, because you can move and shoot, the enemies are a lot more aggressive.
Yeah.
And they will straight up sprint at you sometimes. And then, but the counter to that is you can parry with your knife. And that has durability because it's kind of, I wouldn't say like overpowered or anything, but it's very
generous.
Useful. It's a generous window, and like the tighter the parry, like you get a perfect parry, it reduces the amount of sharpness that degrades. And also gets you the ability to do a roundhouse kick if you do a perfect one, which is super useful. But like you can also upgrade there's durability of the knives, but you can also upgrade your main one that you get from Marvin in RE2, the combat knife, to make it less the durability less of an issue.
Yeah. And I believe there are more knives you can get that you can upgrade.
There's
I have
one
not gotten
specifically that you can make unbreakable eventually.
Which sounds great.
Yeah,
but yeah,
exactly.
Definitely upgrade your knife durability, like the first thing. It's the first thing that I've been maxing every time it's become available to upgrade more.
Yeah, that's
very useful.
Definitely the first thing I put money into. Come on.
But that said, they're pretty generous with knives. Like I had several points where, because I always restore the durability on my knife when I see a merchant, I had several times where I had like 5 knives just sitting in my inventory. But at some point you will either forget to repair, or you will use your knife so much that you will need those extra knives. So,
and also they're used as another resource in crafting bolts. If you want to use your bolt thrower, which is great. Bolt thrower is I'm a big fan.
Stealthy.
Not even just
but also
stealthy.
You can turn them into like mines, and those are very powerful.
The bolt thrower is great for like rotating ammo essentially, and like because the strength of the bolt thrower is you can pick up the ammo that you shoot, right? And so it's useful to like get a couple headshots with the bolt thrower and then like stun them, go for the roundhouse and stab them. So like, and that'll save like, I'm playing on hardcore, that'll save like between 5 to 8 handgun rounds. And so sometimes it's useful in a fight rather than burn through like a full magazine.
Yeah. So you were asking earlier about big changes, and then you did mention no story spoilers. So there won't be any story spoilers, except to say that they have pretty significantly changed the story and like the sequence of events and the order that events happen. I'm not at the end of the game, obviously. I'm only like, I don't know, maybe 75% to the castle or something. But there's already been, especially in the castle, there's been a lot of stuff that's pretty significantly different, which is awesome.
Yeah, so do you think that this still would have felt fresh without all of that? I mean, enough to keep you interested without the story changes.
Yeah, I mean, they could have taken all the story and dialogue out of the game, and I still would have enjoyed this game because it's a very fun game to play. But I do think the updates that they did are really, really good. Like they've made it modern because the dialogue in the original game is like it was great for its time, but it has not aged well. So yeah,
disarm those.
Oh, well,
yeah, you can just walk up to them and push a button, and then they're still there to shoot later if an enemy's walking by it.
I'll do that in a minute.
Hey, Preston, that's the shotgun.
Wait, where? How do I miss this? Just...
Right there. You almost did it again.
I almost did it again. Oh, no.
You have plenty of space. Yeah, your inventory is just to look messy.
There we go.
Oh, auto sort. Heathen.
How filthy. Fucking filthy. Okay, so here's an important question for everyone. How do you sort your inventory?
Well, Preston just auto sorts. He lets do it for
him. His opinion's invalid. Chris?
Right.
I've got like guns up on the top rows, guns and my knife, and then I've got healing in the bottom right, and like crafting stuff in the bottom left, and then ammo kind of sandwiched between those.
Okay. I have pretty much like my healing stuff on the bottom row, starting from the left. I have my guns kind of stacked up on top of each other from the top left, and like resources and knives on the right. It feels so good being able to get that hit of dopamine from just sorting your inventory. It's so good.
Yeah, Preston doesn't like dopamine though.
No, I'm not a fan.
Preston's a heathen.
I've been so long without, I don't know what it's like to have it. So one thing I think that we had in the DraftMonks Discord, we had aired a little bit of grievance with is some early encounters can be really rough, especially again for me who like, I'm not entirely sure when to just run from enemies, when to stand my ground. And does the power curve continue to feel satisfying where am I ever going to feel overpowered, or does it just consistently ramp up with the enemies? Because I felt like Village had a little bit of an issue where it didn't ramp up very well, or it ramped up too much, I should say.
Well, I didn't feel that way in Village. I felt like I got pretty overpowered, so I don't know how you will feel, but I feel like the encounters do get easier as you get more guns and you're like choosing guns to upgrade and committing to them. Like the encounters get easier, even though the enemies do get more challenging. There are some very interesting enemies that were also in the original that like will make encounters very difficult if you're not doing them in the way that the game wants you to. But I don't know. I say overall, we talked about there's an encounter very early on, like so early that you have already done it, Preston. That was the hardest one for almost everybody I talked to.
Mm-hmm. It seems like universally it's kind of viewed as one of the hardest. And also, I'm playing on hardcore for my first playthrough. Are you guys playing on standard for your first time through?
Yep.
Okay. Yes, standard.
I'm fake ass gamer boy.
I was close to going easy.
I mean, I think it's great that this game has a lot of different options to cater to the different difficulty options, and like assisted mode looks really cool and really fun. And I think it provides an option to, if you just want to go through and make it more of an action game, then you can lean into that playstyle for sure. And it's awesome. I'm So Resident Evil 2 Remake is like my favorite of the series. And a part of that is because I enjoy how it plays now as opposed to how it played back then. I didn't enjoy that style as much, as well as like it leans more into the survival horror aspect, whereas Resident Evil 4 is much more of an action survival horror game. Hardcore provides something closer to that feeling and having to juggle resources more often and keep mind everything at my disposal to take advantage, because I'm constantly like, enemies have more health essentially. Ammo's a little bit more scarce, and so it provides like a greater tension for me in having that feeling. And so like when we were talking about it in the chat, it wasn't even really a grievance for me. It was just notable that that's a point of friction early on. I think it's probably at its hardest at the beginning, like the village and that ravine. And then it doesn't plateau, but like it starts to even out a little bit more because you start having more tools in your toolkit.
Right. Yeah. And I think at that point you break your knife very early on. And so then you're like scrambling for kitchen knives, or just kind of, you don't feel very safe or effective until you finally meet the merchant again. Well, for the first time in the game.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely having the higher durability on the knife is very helpful as well. Because, like, I mean, since the village section, I have never had a situation where I get grabbed and I can't knife the enemy.
Yeah.
Whether it's with my knife or with a boot knife or kitchen knife.
I wonder if I can open up this as a shortcut for later.
So I forget, Preston, what's your experience with the original again?
My experience, I have none. I never played the original.
Okay.
I mean, if I did, it would have been all of 10 minutes of it. But having, grown up in gaming, I'm familiar with it in that context. You see it everywhere, and its legacy.
It's cultural osmosis.
Right. Have y'all felt like this kind of, oh, sweet. I could have done this all along. Have y'all felt like this? I think whenever Resident Evil 2 Remake came out, it was almost like a cultural kind of, holy hell, this is what remakes can be moment. And, they've kind of, I feel like Resident Evil 3 was a little bit less warmly received, I'll say. And
sure. Those people are wrong, but it's fine.
Right. This one is obviously getting really high scores, but I feel like it is not necessarily the technical achievement that 2 to Remake felt like.
It's
less impressive because
RE4 was already a really impressive game, I think. Well, is a big part of it.
That, and not only that, the difference between the valley between original Resident Evil 2 and Remake of it is so damn different because it's a completely new game. Like how it controls everything about it is completely new, while maintaining like the spirit of that game, right? This is, I mean, it's Resident Evil 2 Remake it's taking the concepts of Resident Evil 4 and applying it to that mentality, whereas this is taking Resident Evil 4 and making it Resident Evil 4, and also like having the context of now we know what they're capable of doing with these remakes. It is not as like out of left field, so the expectation is kind of there now that like what they're capable of doing. It's like, yeah, like this is an impressive game. It is not a surprise, but it is nice knowing that it is as fully realized as it is. And I also would say I would say that it is a much better game than Resident Evil 4 original, but it's a, that's because it has what Resident Evil 4 was to build on.
Yeah, I think it is a
Has the
much better
benefit of
game.
that.
It's definitely a much more fun game to play. But it in a lot of ways it is like, it feels like a really good game that came out in 2023. Whereas Resident Evil 4, when it came out, which mind you, I didn't play it when it came out. I played it like 8 years later. But when it came out, it was a revolutionary game that was years ahead of its time. This just feels like a really great 2023 game.
Yeah, Resident Evil 4, when it released, it changed the landscape forever. Like every third-person action game you have basically is because of Resident Evil 4. Like The Last of Us exists because of Resident Evil 4, quite literally and directly. Stuff like that is a one-to-one. Dead Space. We just got a Dead Space remake as well. And that they saw Resident Evil 4 and completely changed the design for Dead Space because of like what they saw was the genre was capable of doing, right? Don't you fucking
do it. Yes, egg that man.
Oi!
Oi.
There's I think an achievement or at least a challenge for egging an enemy.
Oh,
really?
Okay, that's good to know.
I think there's one of the eggs that you can, at least in the original, you could one hit kill enemies.
I will also say for the remake that there are a lot of sections, having come to Resident Evil 4 very late. There were a lot of sections that were like, this just doesn't feel very good to play.
I agree.
And they have improved on all those.
But I think the original Resident Evil 4 is a fantastic game. But it has problems in its pacing and gameplay that I'm not as over the moon about, but I don't think it was an experiment, right?
Yeah.
So I don't necessarily hold it against it, but I'm not as infatuated or enamored with the original that a lot of other people were, but I doesn't detract from the fact that it is one of the most important games ever. In terms of its impact, this remake is definitely not that. Yeah, but it is a better version. It is the best version of that concept.
There was an article, and I guess we can link it down in the show notes, that kind of just talked about how many games pull from the legacy. And I feel like we shared it in the Discord, and I can't quite remember where it was from. But so what do y'all think then? We don't necessarily need to give it a score or anything, but what are your opinions on where you're at right now? How much do you like it compared to the original? I guess we've been talking about that a little bit, but
I love this way more. I really enjoyed the original. I love this way more than the original.
Yeah, not having the nostalgia for the original, I definitely love this way more than the original. And also, I know there are a lot of people out there that say because they have changed so much and because that original has such a great legacy that they will still go back and play that one, but also play this one. They just have two versions to play. But if I ever play Resident Evil 4 and playing this one, yeah.
Which is, that's fair. They do play differently for sure.
Yeah.
Do you see yourself coming back and playing through this one multiple times? I mean, Chris, you said
Absolutely.
You played it 3 times for the original. You think you'd come back and play this at least 3 times as well?
Yeah, I finished Village 6 times. If it's a good Resident Evil game, I will play it a lot of times. I played RE2 Remake 4 or 5 times as well.
I'm planning on playing RE2 Remake on hardcore with a randomizer. That's how much I love that game.
Nice.
Yeah.
And I would gladly do the same for this game. Granted, a randomizer in the context of this game is a little bit has a different impact or how it would play, but
boom.
The variety in the tool set that you have just in the base level of the game as is presented is phenomenal. And the amount of potential it has in like, especially picking it up on PC with the modding community, because that was another thing that Remake 2 and 3 had, like phenomenal modding scene, right? The iconic Mr. X's Thomas the Tank Engine thing, right?
Yeah.
So like, I can't wait to see what this game will have in its mod scene as well. And I think that adds so much more like replay value and potential for things to come down the line, especially a game as beloved as the original, like finding ways to just like freshen up this version of it. And like the goodies that they have, like, the Chicago typewriter exists in this remake, as it should, right? Like, that's an iconic weapon that you get from like playing through the game for the first time. Like the suit, the pinstripe suit, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like they did a very good job at maintaining, not just making references, but like maintaining the things that were key of playing through the original game and encouraging replayability. And that's all here. Challenge system's great. I would love to 100% this game.
Yeah. Preston, have you bought the treasure map? By the way, that's the first thing you should buy every time you get to a new area.
Always.
Heard about
I
that?
should.
Always,
I don't know if I
always.
bought it for this area, actually, now that you mentioned that.
Well, the village is, if you bought one, you have it. Like
Okay.
you have it for the entire village section until you get to the castle.
Speaking of, I should probably
There's one for the
make sure
cat,
that I
and it'll
have-
also show in the bottom right corner how many treasures you have of the entire zone.
Oh, I didn't even notice that.
Ooh. Did not notice that either.
And that doesn't count if you got like the deluxe version or like a pre-order or whatever, like the enhanced treasure map thing, that is a separate thing. Those aren't included in the 39 treasures, but
I don't even know what that is. I didn't look at any of that.
I'm gonna have to go back and rerun quite a bit of this. Actually, it's not
worth
too bad.
it.
But yeah,
Yeah,
It's pretty quick because it's clear.
yeah.
right,
Don't worry about the village square yet. Anyway, you need one of those you can't get yet.
right.
You will come back through there many times.
Let's see. Yeah, so parting thoughts.
Yeah, a couple things that I did want to mention. First of all, you mentioned Resident Evil 3 Remake. I think the reason why that one, a big part of the reason why that one gets so much flack is because they did cut huge sections, and that does not seem to be the case here. Yeah, they have like almost everything. Like there's some stuff they've cut, there's some brand new stuff they've added, but they've kept like the structure of the game more or less the same, at least up to the point that I'm at. And I assume the game would probably not be getting 10 out of 10 scores everywhere if it did not continue to have almost everything that the original had. And then two new features that I do want to shout out. One positive, one negative. The positive feature is you can send your guns to storage now. There was never a storage before. You can only do it with your guns. You can't store like your ammo or anything because that would kind of break the inventory system.
And your first aid kits.
Your first aid sprays, yeah, you can put away too.
Your sprays, yeah.
What did you originally have to do?
You
just
couldn't
hold them.
You hold everything, so it became the balance of like what you actually wanted to buy.
My God.
Yeah, if you wanted to make room for something, you had to sell it, which is especially useful because there are a couple of guns that you just find in the environment. If you don't have space for them, you can just send them to storage. You can make space later if you want to use it or whatever. You don't have to, okay, I need to go to a merchant and sell this gun I'm not using as much so I can grab this new one.
It just makes it more efficient.
Yeah, less backtracking. The one thing, and this is the first time, gosh, I guess since like Resident Evil 4 in this series that they've like undone this, but when you upgrade ammo capacity on a weapon, you don't get a free clip.
Yeah.
Oh, you
That is
don't get a
true.
free clip.
No,
it does
you
not
always
refill
have
the
before.
magazine. Yep.
I was a
Who
little
needs
disappointed. It's like it's kind of freeing in a way because you can literally just, there's no reason not to always fully reload all your guns, but I kind of liked the extra inventory management of being like, okay, I only have one shotgun shell left in this thing. Once I spend that, I'm not going to reload it because I want to get the free like ammo. So then it kind of puts some stress on you to use other weapons.
Mm.
Also, the tied to that too is there are instances like if you're selling your gun, if you're planning on selling the gun you have on you, it would not behoove you to reload it because you will lose those rounds. Like you would want to make sure you burn through that magazine and then like send it to your storage or just don't reload it so you can not lose like, 12 rounds of handgun or 8 of your shotgun.
Yeah, the bullets in your gun are not worth any money. They don't sell for any extra.
Right.
Where is this?
What about you, Preston? You're a few hours in, and what has your experience been so far? Like, especially not having played the original, coming to this game for the first time.
I was originally pretty frustrated. It felt I was less impressed with it than Resident Evil 2. And in my head, just for some reason, I was like, I don't know. It's sort of a weird thing to be separated by time from Resident Evil 2 Remake to the point where in my head I was thinking that one looks so much better. And I don't know really how true that thought is, but as far as once I made it through that early encounter, I'm feeling a lot less frustrated with it. It feels a lot more approachable. I know that with these sorts of games, the shooting is just going to be a little clunky. And there are going to be mechanics that maybe are just kind of sluggish, right? But there's a purpose to that and to give weight to your character. But it's just sort of like...
there's definitely weight.
Yeah, it's about updating your mindset for the game that you're playing and being aware of sort of the systems you're playing within and adapting yourself to that. And now that I've adapted a little bit more, given it a little bit more time, I feel a lot more freed up to just kind of explore and enjoy it. So it's good. It's really what I'm happy with it. I really, really liked Village in a way that I did not expect to like. And
so good.
I think that this will turn into that over time because Village also took me a little while to warm up to.
Yeah, I mean, Village is the closest to RE4 that we had gotten since RE4. It was really just first-person RE4.
Yeah, it was a love letter to Resident Evil 4.
Which I do still think, I haven't finished this one yet, but I think I still like Village a little bit more than this remake, but they're both amazing.
Yeah, I think part of that has to do with the fact that it's like a brand new entry, whereas this is retreading previously walked ground. But I think it, to its credit, it does it in the best way, and it's still like a fucking fantastic game.
That's not the right key. What the fudge?
Nope.
You'll get it.
Well, thank you all for joining me. And, I do plan on streaming more of this. I know, Rob, you plan on streaming more of this. So I feel like we're going to see very different, moments within the game, but also skill levels within the game. Dogs
I'll probably
are running all over.
I'll probably stream a professional playthrough.
Yeah. That'd be pro level.
So full of yourself. Calling yourself professional, G.
Leon is a professional. He's Leon the Professional.
Oh, is that what that movie is? Yeah. Oh, I can't go back this way. Thanks, guys, for joining me and just, talking me further into this game.
Happily. Thanks for having us.
Yeah, thanks.
And if you want to see more impressions, we have a whole playlist of them. We're going to be having Diablo impressions coming up. And of course, we've got PAX coverage going on right now. For all of that, you should subscribe to the Draft Punks channel. Thanks, please. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.